$30,000 can go really, really fast on a landscape project. And that's why it's so important to know what things cost when it comes to landscaping, so you have the right ideas and you know exactly what it is that you want to build, so you get the biggest bang for your buck. So for the $30,000 example, you can quickly use up $30,000 with just doing a foundation plan around your house, which is going to be softscaping, curbing, rock, with landscape lighting, doing a new irrigation system, doing new sod. By the time you just put those pieces together, it can really eat up $30,000 in a hurry. Now, some of the most expensive pieces to consider on your property is if you were to pick landscaping rock. Landscape rock is bringing material in from up north, because unfortunately there's not many materials in Southwest Florida that you can choose from when it comes to rock. So you pay an exorbitant amount for rock because everything comes in on rail and it comes in from far, far away, and you're paying for all of that freight. So that drives the cost very, very high up there when it comes to ornamental rock. It also drives the cost up if you're looking at any kind of boulder or stone piece like that, because here again, you're not getting that from directly around here. So one of the biggest cost driving parts of your landscape project is going to be if you decide to use rock. Now, rock has its upsides because rock never goes away, and if landscape fabric is under it, it will not sink into the mud, and if it's maintained, if you keep the weeds out of it, it'll just last for years to come. So that's first and foremost. Landscape rock can drive the project up very, very quickly. Tons and tons of plantings can also drive the project up quickly, because everything we install with a year warranty. And when you pile all of that together with lots of plantings on the property, it can make the budget start to skyrocket. And finally, the last thing that can really, really drive a project up quickly is going to be landscape lighting. Landscape lighting, although beautiful, does come with a cost if you're going to do a big install. I've seen installs where people are doing 60 plus, 100 plus fixtures, and it can be easy to get into the $8s, $9s, $10s, $15,000 in landscape lighting when you start to get into the systems where you have to have multiple transformers, you have 100 plus lights, 60 plus lights even, and then specific intricacies of maybe you don't just have standard fixtures, you've got downlighting from in a tree or some kind of special accent or pendant lights. The more you tie in higher end fixtures and custom work to landscape lighting, the more it can drive that bill up. The thing to remember is there are ways to save on landscape projects as well. You can also be thinking about materials that are from here. So if you are going to use in your rock bed, or if you're going to use in your landscape bed a material, you want to drive the cost down and make a more affordable project, or maybe you like some of these materials and they just happen to be more affordable. If you pick shell or any type of mulch, pine straw, anything along those lines, that's something that is local to this area, it is going to dramatically reduce the cost of your landscape. Also, if you don't opt for doing landscape lighting right from the beginning and you make that an add-on in a future phase, it can drive down the initial cost of your project. And finally, one of my favorite, I prefer, now everybody has their own preference and it's very preference driven, but I prefer a landscape bed that has open room to maintain, and it's not just a bunch of hedgerows and it's not pounded together like an English garden. Well, everything here in Florida grows like crazy. And so if we plant less in the beginning, knowing that it's going to fill out some, this is another way to drive your budget down, save on all of that, and then save on some of the labor of thinking you wanted it filled, but not necessarily realizing how big, how many hedgerows, and how impossible it could be to get in there and work on this in the future. So it can be really, really quick to rack up $30,000, $40,000, $100,000 in landscaping budget to a big project. These are some of the ways, these are some of the things that drive it up, and then some of the ways where you can keep it more affordable depending on what you want. The unfortunate thing, though, that I've seen time and time again after meeting with different clients is usually it's the things you like the most always happen to be the most expensive. I think that's the way with all of us. It just happens to be the thing that I like, darn it, that's the most expensive version of that. So this will help you kind of understand how to pick materials and know what some of those things that can bring it up or bring it down actually are.